Hi everyone, my name is Anne Logan and this is the I'veReadThis.com YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the classic Who Has Seen the Wind by W.O. Mitchell. This book was originally published in 1947 and you can see I have a beautiful new 75th anniversary edition. This is a really gorgeous book. I got it a few months ago. It has some colored pictures in it. There's some black and white sketches as well. And W.O. Mitchell, the author, he passed away in 1998, but he is from Calgary, which is another reason why this book was re-released by Freehand Press, which is a Calgary publisher. This is what they consider a classic Canadian Western. It's taught in a lot of schools in this part of Canada. I personally had never read it before because I'm from Eastern Canada, so I was really delighted to read this and see what all the fuss was about. It's basically about the cycle of life. It's told from the perspective of a young boy named Brian. It basically covers his life between the ages of 4 to 8. The majority of the book is told from his perspective, but there are a few other characters who live in the same rural town as he does, who we also get a first-person perspective from. So they all live in a small town on the Saskatchewan prairie, which if you're not familiar with that, it's basically a super flat part of Canada. There's this joke that you can see your dog run away for days, which I love. But so yeah, this is a book that a lot of people in Western Canada have read already. And I wouldn't call it a coming of age novel because Brian is so young when we leave him at the end of the book. It's sort of like a coming into your body kind of novel. It's not about puberty, but it's a lot about enjoying the outdoors. And this cycle of life and death is something that Brian is exposed to quite a bit because of the time of the century that he's living in, but also, when you live in a rural area and you're surrounded by farms, he sees a lot of animals come and go. He has a dog that, spoiler alert, dies. So Brian is exposed to these cycles over and over again. The writing itself is really, really beautiful. It's been called very poetic, which I totally agree with. There is, the majority of the writing is not necessarily dialogue, it's description, and it's description of the natural world. So living on the prairies, you're very heavily influenced by the weather, by what's happening around you outside, the animals that you're seeing, the birds that you're hearing, and this is very much reflected in this novel, which is of course fiction. I don't think I've mentioned that yet. So, and the title is a reference to the fact that wind itself plays a huge role in this book. It's almost its own character. Wind is described almost on every single page, multiple times. Wind, it may influence a character's decision. It actually adds some plot twists. The wind is supposed to represent God's hand in a way, although this isn't a religious book. But Brian does have some conversations with people from the church in his town. And religion sort of plays a role in how he thinks of the world and how he imagines people are punished or how people are rewarded. And although there's quite a few descriptions of the natural world, what's great about this book is that it incorporates a lot of characters from the town, and because of that, we get these kind of dramatic subplots. There's actually a lot happening in this small town outside of Brian's life, which we kind of get snippets of, which is really fun and kind of kept the book moving for me. This book also depicts, and this is probably just the time of the century that it was written, is that it does depict a lot of intolerance in these small towns. This idea that there's a small narrow way of how you should live, and if you live outside of these lines, you're sort of shunned by the town. There are some instances of kindness, and kindness kind of does win out in the end, I will say, but that's definitely something that this book deals with, is intolerance, levels of intolerance, and kind of how we see and treat our neighbors. So that's my review of Who Has Seen the Wind by W.O. Mitchell. I do recommend this book. I think it's a really lovely read. I think it would appeal to a wider range of audiences as well. Yeah, and this is, of course, just a really beautiful edition, local Calgary edition for Freehand Books. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments, and keep following along with all of my book reviews on ivereadthis.com. Bye!